the entire AFC
I love this.
North.
I
Me
love
too.
this.
It's going to be
When I saw
interesting.
the entire division, I love this.
And
I love this so much.
I snuck the Steelers in there at the end because I have to appreciate their draft, and realistically,
Yeah.
outside of Kenny Pickett, what they are built to right now, we're going to start
Yeah.
there with the Pittsburgh Steelers. How do you feel about their Super Bowl window?
I think it's half open. I think it has a lot to do with what we see from Kenny Pickett this season. Number one, this is a team that's coached by Mike Tomlin.
Yep.
Who's still through 17
Crazy.
seasons, I believe.
Yep. Never
Not a
lost.
losing
Never
season.
had a losing season.
When you look at the draft they had, I'm a big legacy guy.
Yep.
And when the game is in your blood, that means something.
Yep.
And when the game's in your blood and you get drafted to where your bloodline already exists, that means a little bit more.
Yep.
Joey Porter.
Yep.
Being drafted to the team where his father made his money.
Yep.
In Pittsburgh. I love it. This is a Pittsburgh defense that I think is going to take that next step. This is a Pittsburgh defense that is going to look like a Pittsburgh defense this season. George Pickens, real deal. Deontay Johnson, real deal. I think Najee Harris is going to be better this season because for the first time since he's been there, the Steelers have finally made a concerted effort to improve the offensive line. And I think we're going to see a lot of that this season. So I'm going to say it's half open because I got to give respect to my guy, Mike Tomlin. I got to give respect to what they did on the defensive side of the ball.
I had to put them on there because of Mike, I felt like.
Have to. We watched Kenny Pickett start, 9 games last season?
Yeah, they went 7-2 down the stretch.
7 of them in those,
I think it was 7-2 or 6-3, but either way, for a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, he won 6 or 7 games, which for a rookie quarterback, if you take that pace of 9 games and you just double it theoretically, because there's 16, 17 games in a season now, you're talking about a 12-ish win team somewhere around there, theoretically, if you just duplicate it. That's what it's on pace for. That's a 12-ish pace win season. We'll say 11 just to be on the safe side because the game is missing there on the other half. I think this is a team that can win 9 or 10 games. I think this is a team that's going to make the lives of all the teams in their division and all the other teams in the conference that they have to play a living hell. It's half open in Pittsburgh, 100%.
I'm definitely going to say it's half open as well for all of the same reasons you explained. We have an elite defense, or not we. They have an elite defense. They have an elite, culture, an elite defensive culture. We know what they've done with Mike Tomlin over the years. When you look at how Kenny Pickett did have that record on the back half of the year, being plugged into a very interesting situation where they didn't know really what it was going to be after Big Ben, right? You see Najee Harris. You see we didn't even mention Darnell Washington out of Georgia, who is my number 1 tight end actually coming into the draft. When you look at his length, when you look how he's really going to be able to be a dual threat tight end, whether you need him to block or whether you need him to have that speed, run those routes with that just unfair athleticism, and then all being led by Mike Tomlin, J.J. Watt, Patrick Peterson is now in the black and yellow, which is going to be absolutely great. What an addition. Joey Porter, great draft. Great culture, and I can't believe I almost left them off the Super Bowl windows here. Definitely a half-open team. Let's go to the Cleveland Browns, the Dog Pound. Love that new alternate logo they dropped, I think, last time I did a show, ironically. Very, very fire. You got it, man. Cleveland Browns.
I'm going to say it's half open.
Mm-hmm.
I think it has
half.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's the potential to be wide depending on the version of Deshaun Watson that we get.
Correct.
If we get 75 to 80% of the Deshaun Watson we saw before all the nonsense happened with him off the field, you're talking about a Super Bowl contender, and you're talking about a team that would be getting a return on their investment. Let's also not forget who they have in their backfield. It's the best back in football, Nick Chubb. They've got a guy in Myles Garrett on the other side of the ball that I think should be a Defensive Player of the Year candidate and probably will win the award this year, potentially. This is a well-rounded roster. The one question mark, though, is what version of Deshaun are we getting?
Yep.
Are we going to get the Deshaun Watson we saw last season, still really, really rusty? Or are we going to get 75, 80% of the Deshaun Watson we saw in Houston when we looked at the Houston Texans potentially being one of the best teams in football, and we looked at Deshaun Watson being the caliber of Patrick Mahomes? It's half open for me.
I'm going to say it's wide open because when you look at this team, and yes, a lot of it rides on Deshaun Watson, but I believe, kind of spoiling it, it's the last segment on the show, top 10 quarterbacks. I believe Deshaun's going to be top 10 again next year. Before Deshaun had all of that off-field stuff going on and before all of that craziness happened in Houston, I said Deshaun Watson was the quarterback in the NFL that most mimicked Patrick Mahomes. When you
Sure.
look at how he moves on the field, when you look at how he can be elusive and run like a Josh Allen if he needs to, he can sling it like a Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow. But this was before Josh Allen and Joe Burrow really put themselves in the conversation, right? But I'm not going to forget what Deshaun Watson was in his final year of final year of Houston. And anybody that wants to take him missing his 11 games and saying that he's not the same player, you simply just don't know football. You have to know that what Deshaun Watson did in the NFL before his crazy off-field things. And yes, you might think it's wild that Deshaun Watson is back in the league, but it is what he is. It is what it is. He is with the Cleveland Browns, and I believe he's going to be a great quarterback this year. Love Kevin Stefanski at that head coach. We know about the defense. The offense with the Cleveland Browns is very exciting. Amari Cooper had a very quiet but great year last year, a quiet, great season, rather. Of course, we know about Nick Chubb. We know about the other offensive players as well, the defensive front seven that they actually bring to the table. So I'm going to say it's wide open. When you have Deshaun Watson playing all 17 games this year, when you didn't really know what the case was going to be,
Yep.
with Baker Mayfield leaving, now he's a Carolina Panther, like who was going to be their quarterback? They winged it. Deshaun's there. He's got the big contract. I definitely have to say it's wide open. Moving on to the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh, the Ravens are a tough one for me because I'm not buying what the Ravens are selling. I'll be honest. This defense has not been what it's supposed to be the past couple seasons. I understand they brought in OBJ. I understand they drafted Zay Flowers. They still have Rashad Bateman and Devin Duvernay. They've got, like, the talent is there. I'm not denying the talent. Because of the talent, I'm going to say half open.
Yeah.
Because this is a talented roster. I think what people have done is they have convinced themselves, though, that the Cincinnati Bengals have risen to the heights they've risen to more so because of the absence of Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, and not because of who Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals are.
I got to agree there. That's a really, really good point.
And
Very good point.
And I 100% think that if Lamar's healthy 1 through 17, a lot of the people in that camp that have that belief are going to be in for a rude awakening because the Bengals are the real deal. And when I look at it from that perspective, when I look at it from the perspective of, man, Lamar Jackson only beat Pat Mahomes one time just a couple years ago. When I think about the fact that we hold Dak Prescott to such a standard where he has one playoff win in, 4 attempts, and Lamar Jackson has the exact same. When I think about the fact that Jalen Hurts has 2 playoff wins in 3 attempts, when I look at it from that, not including the Super Bowl, obviously, if you include the Super Bowl, he's 2-2 in the playoffs. When I think about what Trevor Lawrence has done and how Trevor Lawrence has already matched the win total for Lamar Jackson in the playoffs, when I think about all of those things, I have to look at the Baltimore Ravens and I have to say, man, I understand who Lamar Jackson was, but who is Lamar Jackson now? Is Lamar Jackson still Action Jackson? Is Lamar Jackson still a top 10, top 5 quarterback in football? Right. Is Lamar Jackson still a needle mover? Is Lamar Jackson
and the
still
bag
a
affects
Super
you
Bowl?
too.
It does. Is Lamar Jackson still a Super Bowl caliber quarterback? Right. I don't know. Right. And because I don't know, and I'll say this as well, and I know it's the MVP season, and the MVP season is usually the best season of your career.
Right.
Let's also talk about the fact that since that MVP, he hasn't been the same. Nope. And it's not like his numbers have dropped off a bit. No. The season after his MVP was worse than the season before. Yep. And this past season was worse than the season before. But more importantly, look at what Tyler Huntley did with this football team without Lamar Jackson. They almost beat the Cincinnati Bengals in the playoffs. And so because of the talent, I have to say that it's wide open. I have to, because of the talent. But my honest, subjective opinion, looking at the landscape of the AFC, unfortunately, I have to say it's closed. I don't know if the Baltimore Ravens can beat the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't know if the Baltimore Ravens can beat the Bills. I don't know if they can beat the Chiefs. I don't know if they can beat the Jets, maybe, or the Broncos, maybe. We talked about it a lot. This conference is stacked.
Yep.
This isn't the conference of 5 years ago.
Nope.
When Lamar won MVP, or 4 years ago when Lamar won MVP. This is a much different conference.
We have conference and division too.
Absurd.
Yep.
Toughest conference, toughest division. There's obviously a case for it to be open. There's obviously a case for it to be half open. There's a case obviously for it to be wide open.
Yep.
But when I look across the conference, and when I look at specifically what I'm seeing in Baltimore, I don't know if it's enough for me to say definitively that this is a team that can compete for a championship this season. I can be wrong. I've been wrong about teams before. I was wrong about the Bucks a couple of years ago when they got Tom Brady, and I don't mind being wrong. Being wrong
Right.
is fine.
Right.
I always say I'd much rather be late to the party than be early and dead wrong.
Yep.
I'll be late and wrong. I don't want to be early and wrong because being early and wrong is embarrassing.
That's when they pull the receipts on you.
Yeah, then they pull the receipts on you. I don't mind being late and wrong. I don't mind having a come to Jesus moment halfway through the season when you get to November, December, and it's like, oh, okay, maybe I was wrong about the Ravens.
Yeah.
As of right now, though, I'm gonna say it's half open because of the talent, but I really want to say it's close. I really do.
Yeah. You made really good points there, man, with all three. I won't lie. I originally had it as walking into the show. And that's because of the talent, like electrifying Action Jackson, OBJ comes in. I'm very excited about Zay Flowers. Mark Andrews is still intact. But how healthy is the defense? How healthy is the defense going to be? How healthy is the secondary going to be? How healthy is Lamar going to be? How healthy are the running backs going to be? Because that's been a question we've seen every year after the MVP year. And that's why some people were shocked when Lamar Jackson, without an official agent, actually got his deal. You really want to say wide open because when they're healthy, which felt like completely healthy throughout an entire season, which some might say, oh, that's not absolutely possible. No, it can happen because usually those healthy teams at the right time are the ones that end up going on, and people want to act surprised, but it's like, no, they hit the bye, they got healthy, just like the Bucs in the pandemic here. They hit the bye, got healthy, didn't lose another one, and ended up winning the Super Bowl. And I kind of had a come to Jesus moment in that season too early on. I think it was after I can't remember. It was after the Bucs played a certain game. Maybe it was against my Saints, but it's still on my page. I went. It was the Monday morning after pill when I did that segment, and I was like, the Bucs are not Super Bowl contenders, and I gave off my reasons. And then as the playoffs got closer, and really then once the Super Bowl showed up, like once it was Chiefs Bucs, even if the Chiefs would have had the O-line, I still would have taken Tampa because the defense was insane that year, and Tom Brady was clearly on a mission. But so kind of reeling it back to the Ravens there, I get you on it closed as well, because when you look at the conference, at the division, you're like, damn, unhealthy quarterback and an unhealthy team in the grand scheme of things. So when you look through this just division, it's going to be tough for them. I'm going to go and adjust to half open though, because of the durability of the team. Lamar Jackson's never thrown for 4,000 yards. And I'm not the guy that's out here like, oh, Lamar's a running back, he can't throw the football. He's not a strong thrower of the football, but at times he can make any throw on the field. And that doesn't go for every quarterback in the league, because Lamar Jackson does have that in him to be the MVP. We've seen that before. Can he stay healthy? How is he going to play with the major contract? Can his team stay healthy? I don't doubt Harbaugh at all. I don't doubt Harbaugh whatsoever. But as much as you say what Tyler Huntley did when he was filling in for Lamar Jackson, look how different they looked when Lamar Jackson was not under center or taking snaps in the shotgun. They weren't scoring as many points. They weren't winning as many games. They weren't producing as many yards, so I am going to have to stay at half open there. I'd love to say wide open, and the reason I want to lean wide open is because we've been foaming at the mouth like, okay, Ravens, okay, Chargers, okay, Bills, like, what are we doing here? And that's kind of where I've got the Ravens positioned at this moment. Cincinnati Bengals, we might go the same way as we did with the Kansas City Chiefs, but you've been surprising me. And I honestly scratched this topic when I was going to do it on a solo show, but I was like, no, let me bring it in with a guest. And honestly, it's been great, dude. So I don't want to assume you're going to say wide open with the Bengals. So let me have it.
Hey, anybody that knows me, I got 3 words for you. Joseph Lee Burrow. He's the best quarterback in football, not named Pat Mahomes. He proved it time and time again. I'm not going to go on a soliloquy. What's understood doesn't have to be explained. Again, like Chiefs was the easiest one. Eagles was the second easiest one. This is the third. It's wide open. It's wide open. Until proven otherwise, the Cincinnati Bengals will be the biggest threat to Pat Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Why? They're the only team in the Pat Mahomes, Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, Kansas City Chiefs era to beat them multiple times. We haven't seen that often. Joe Burrow has multiple wins over Pat Mahomes, more importantly, in crucial situations. He leads their all-time head-to-head. Actually, I think it's because this they're going to play again this season on New Year's Eve. It'll be Pat Mahomes. It'll be Mahomes Burrow 5. If I'm not mistaken,
love that you know that
Burrow's up 3-1 in the series because they won the game in the regular season in Arrowhead, and then they won the AFC Championship game, and then they won another one in the regular season last season, I believe. And then I know I know Pat has at least one because, of course, they just played in the AFC Championship game last year and they won that one. It's either a 2-2 series or a 3-1 series. I want to say the Bengals, Joe
I
Burrow and
want
the
to say
Bengals
it's
are up on that
3-1.
3-1. I want to say it's
Yeah.
3-1 because I think the Bengals did win that third game
Yeah.
because it was at home and it was a
Ye-
big deal because
Yeah.
people thought that Pat Mahomes was going to come to Cincy and do what Burrow and them did in Arrowhead. But yeah, if I'm not mistaken, they're up 3-1. So
Yeah, you're right.
they've
I'm
got
looking at our
three of them.
article right now, beginning of this year,
Yeah.
January 29th of this year. They were talking about how he was 3-0 going into the AFC. The Chiefs
So
beat him this year
and then they lost because
right.
they wanted to call it
Burrowhead.
Burrowhead and all this other
We
stuff.
want to get a paternity test to see if
Yeah.
Joe Burrow
That-
is your daddy. Bit you in the ass so
Yeah,
hard, bro.
that
Learned a lesson real
definitely.
quick,
Yeah,
dog.
that one bit him in the butt real quick. They wouldn't have done
Real
that. We could
bad.
talk about 4-0, but 3 wins over Pat Mahomes is a big deal.
Major.
And so I would say the Bengals window is wide open. They were just in the Super Bowl 2 years ago against the Rams. So
Yep.
as long as Burrow's healthy, as long as Jamar is there, and as long as they're still continuing to build around them and keep that O-line as healthy and as durable as possible, it's wide open. 3 wins over Pat Mahomes is a big deal.
100%. Ditto on everything. Absolutely wide open.